my name is Dr. Liz, aka Ohemaa Mac, who started this channel to talk about all things luxury, faith, and medicine. Okay, so today I'm going to talk more about medicine. So for those of you who do not know, I am a primary care physician. I have been for almost 3 years now. So I love what I do. I currently work with geriatrics, but my hope is to go back to my first love, which is to work with all ages. So I wanted to make this video because I'm currently on the hunt for a new job, a job that aligns with my goals, that provides me with more flexibility, and one that I'm able to see all ages. However, it's been very challenging, very disappointing to say the least. So, everyone thinks you're a doctor, everything should be easy breezy because you work so hard. So just to give you a rundown about how I came to this point, okay? I did my undergrad for 4 years, okay? And I majored in biology. You don't have to though. You can major in any subject that you are interested in. The point is you do have to make sure that you do fulfill your prerequisites. So that's your general chemistry, your organic chemistry, sometimes even biochemistry, depending on the school. You have to do English courses as well as psych courses, 1 or 2 psych courses as well. And then you also have to do the crazy hard MCAT, okay? And excel in it. In addition to that, you have to volunteer for a specific amount of hours. You have to shadow, and you have to show your interest by being involved with different organizations in medicine or pre-medicine. So I was a part of the Minority Association of Pre-Health Students called MAPS, and that actually gave me a lot of opportunities where I was able to network with other pre-med students as well as medical students as well as even physicians. Now, after going through all that, eventually getting into medical school, then getting into medical school is a whole nother issue. So you have to make sure that aside from all those things, you have a great personal statement. And you have to set money aside as well because the application process is very, very expensive. Unfortunately, if you're not rich, you got to figure it out for yourself. So I was a lower middle class at the time. And so I had to, work various jobs in order to supplement my income in order for me to be able to afford different courses. So according to the statistics, it's actually about 50% of students that do apply to medical school actually get in, slightly lower than that. So, it's the creme de la creme that's applying. Everyone that's applying is super duper smart, so you definitely have to stand out. All right, so getting into medical school, you're in medical school. Medical school is challenging, very, very challenging. It's like drinking water, as they say, out of a hose that never, ever, ever closes, never ends. You're consistently learning a huge amount of information, and you're expected to be able to regurgitate that as well as to remember that and retain that information for years to come. So medical school for me was probably the worst phase for me. It's almost a blur, to be honest. I think I've blocked it out of my mind because it was very rigorous. You have exams every 6 weeks. And that sounds like, oh, that's enough time. That's not. You're constantly compared to your peers. Everybody's smart, right? Constantly stressed. Throughout that time, I really had to lean on God, rely on Him fully, trust Him. I was part of the Christian Medical Dental Association, and that was really helpful for me to get through it, helpful for my mental health as well. Now, at the end of the second year in my school, we had to take the Step 1 exam. Now, some schools take their Step 1 exam a little bit earlier, a little bit later, I've heard. But in my school, we took it after the second year, okay? Now, Step 1 was very stressful because now it's pass and fail. Back then, it was not, honey. And essentially, for you to get into the specialty of your choice, your step one score matters. So there was so much pressure riding on it, so much stress. It was a mess. God help me. I failed a few of my practice tests, and so it actually delayed me starting the third year because I really wanted to make sure that I passed the exam. And the third and fourth years are not easier, they're just different. So that's when you go ahead and do your rotations. But these rotations, you have to make sure you're studying. So you're going to these rotations, right? They might have 8 to 4. The hours might be 8 to 4, or it could be 9 to 9, depending on what rotation you're on. So for surgical, I could be there in the hospital for 12 hours, and I'm expected to go home and still study and get up at 3, 4 a.m. and get to the hospital again and continue the process over and over again for several weeks. So that is mentally exhausting, mentally draining. So it goes through that third year especially, and maybe the beginning of fourth year. Now, fourth year is a little bit light because that's when you're interviewing at different phases because match day is coming up. You need to match into a residency program. Unfortunately, not everybody matches, so that's another sad thing, not guaranteed. Most people do match, but not everyone does, okay? Especially if you're applying to a very competitive specialty like dermatology. They usually recommend that you apply to various different specialties as well so that you at least match somewhere. Family medicine is not one of those difficult specialties. However, I knew that in order to be able to secure a spot, I had to apply to several programs, and I applied to all throughout the East Coast. So I would say pretty much from Connecticut all the way down to Florida. And thankfully, I was able to match in Georgia Augusta University Medical Center, also known as MCG. That was a blessing. Now, you match, you start residency, and that's a whole nother ballgame. For me, residency wasn't as bad because I actually was performing patient care. However, it is still very demanding because you do have 24-hour calls. Most people do, most hospitals do. I know some do have the 12, like you work 12-hour weekends, and that's crazy because that means you work more weekends. So there are pros and cons to both. My program did the 24-hour call, so you might be on call maybe, I don't know, like one time every 3 months or something like that. However, in family medicine, you do have to rotate through different specialties. So I still had to do a surgical specialty, still had crazy hours there. I did have to do a psych specialty. I did outpatient, I did urgent care, I did emergency room. So I did a lot of the erratic shifts. So I could do nights one time, and then the next time I could do a midday, and the other time I could do it early morning. You also have in-service, which I hated. That's when you're essentially on the in-service team. So you're essentially working with the hospitalist of the hospital, right? Hospitalist essentially is the attending physician that is working in the hospital, okay? So you're essentially underneath that physician. You're managing the most complex, those sickest patients in the hospital, right? So that was also challenging as well. And then interspersing that, you had your night shift. And then my program had night shift every, I believe it was every 2 weeks. And so we might have like 4 2-week night shifts. So that was also crazy too, trying to adjust from daytime to nighttime. And, for example, my husband at the time, or fiance, then husband, during residency, had a regular schedule, so I barely would see him. So that could be also isolating as well. Now, in family medicine, why we do a little bit of everything is because they want you to essentially be able to practice in whatever setting you choose to. So, for instance, you can do a fellowship in OB, or fellowship in wilderness medicine, or a fellowship in sports medicine. So they do give you a little bit of a taste, and that's why we do various different rotations. And that's pretty unique to other specialties. Like internal medicine doesn't do as many different rotations as family medicine does, or even any other specialty. I feel like family medicine does a lot more different. So we do cardiology, we do urology, we do OBGYN, we do emergency medicine, we do urgent care, sports medicine, the list that goes on and on. And then you take your boards, you take your in-service exams all throughout residency, okay? So that you're making sure that you're on top of all the material. And then you eventually take your board exam. And then thankfully, I'm board certified family medicine physician. So to be a primary care physician, you could be an internal medicine doctor, or you can be a family medicine doctor, or you can be an internal medicine slash med peds double board certified doctor. That tends to be very few, because most internal medicine peds double board certified doctors usually work in the hospital. So typically, it's more often family medicine and sometimes internal medicine physicians that are primary care physicians, okay? So primary care physician is essentially a physician that takes care of the primary care needs of the patient. So managing chronic conditions like diabetes, asthma, hypertension, and the like, okay? And then typically you see your patient, annual exams as well, Medicare wellness visits, all that, those type of things, okay? Now, an urgent care physician is a little different. That's between a primary care and a hospitalist, I would say. So those are the physicians. They could also be internal family. Usually they prefer family, because we do have some rotations in urgent care, or even emergency medicine doctors. And those doctors, essentially in the urgent care setting, those take care of patients that have acute issues in which they're not able to see their primary care providers or physicians right away. They do things like, or they treat things like animal bites, asthma attacks. They do some sutures or suturing, sorry for any lacerations, things of that nature. Now, I love primary care. I love building that continuity with the patient. I love really getting to know them and their families through and through. So that is me. However, there's a lot of different challenges with it. So the constant messages can be very frustrating, can cause a lot of burnout, I would say. And also the lack of flexibility. Typically, primary care physician offices would have like an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 6. And a lot of times they will not have that flexibility that I would like. So I'm currently at a crossroads, okay? I think the shift for me was when I had my daughter. I realized that I no longer wanted to be in as rigid of a structure I was at. I wanted a more flexible schedule, and that's essentially why I'm making that pivot. So I am either looking for an urgent care position, but I'm not really sure if I like it as much because my heart is with primary care, or a primary care position where they'll be more flexible, so I could hopefully do 4 10-hour, or 3 12-hour shifts is what I really hope to get. Now, I talked about the challenges that I've been facing since I've been applying to these jobs. I think the first challenge for me is the pay. Now, tips for professionals, healthcare professionals, future physicians, current medical students, medical residents, even if you are a professional, period. Make sure you look up the average salaries of these positions, okay? Thank God for Google. I know for doctors, what I recommend is Medscape. That is the most accurate salary that you're going to get, okay? I had a job offer me a very low amount and had the nerve to say that that was in accordance to the market value. Thank God I did my research, because then I would be lowballing myself. So that's been the biggest thing. They are not willing to pay you what you're worth. And after what I just described, pre-med, medical school, and I did not even tell y'all the full depth of the craziness. I did not go to medical school right away because it's competitive. I think I said 50% about getting to medical school. Everyone is a creme de la creme. Everyone is smart, super duper smart. I had to do a master's for a year and a half. So it was very, very challenging. That's one. And number two, there's a lot of debt. Now, I know they say the median is 200,000. Girl, boy, I don't know. Because all my friends that I know went, hey, baby, 300,000, 400,000, $500,000 in student loan debt, okay? So if you are minority, baby, you taking more than that 200 because you need room and board. A lot of times you don't have the access or the funds or the resources to get that extra money. So unfortunately, for minorities that are going to medical school, it's significantly more, okay? And so my question is, how are we supposed to survive if, we are making little? Remember, loans that we take have interest rates. So thank God I refinanced mine. So mine is at a lower interest rate. I refinanced during COVID because I have a plan. Another thing too, you make sure that you have a plan for these loans, honey. Don't just be like, oh, I'm scared to look it up. Go ahead and look it up because, baby, if you don't have a plan, ooh, girl, boy, they're not trying to pay us, and that's wrong. So that's been my biggest disdain. The other disappointment I've been having is a lot of these primary care officers are not willing to be flexible. I've had officers tell me, oh no, well, we can't accommodate you because then we have to accommodate the MA and the nurse and everybody else. And I'm like, well, you should accommodate everybody else because that's how everybody is going to be loyal to you and everybody's going to stay and you're going to have a lower turnover, which is going to help you save money. So in my mind, that's a good thing, okay? But they are gung-ho about sticking to the 8 to 5 or 9 to 6, 7 to 4 schedules. And that way it makes it kind of hard for you. So if you have any kids and you don't have that much family support, you're in trouble. You got to be creative, okay? Those have been my two biggest challenges. I'm going to talk more about the journey to finding, God willing, praying like crazy, my dream job or my almost dream job, okay? Because I think I deserve it. I think I've worked super duper hard, sacrificed a lot, sleepless nights, not going to friends and family's weddings, a lot of debt, a lot of stress. And I think I deserve to get, what I want, okay? And even not what I want, close to what I want. I think that's okay. So I hope this video was helpful for you all, especially if you're pre-med or if you're a resident or if you're even a healthcare professional. Please, please, please know your worth. Do not settle for less and keep on working hard. Until later, bye.